Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited. The Man Crisis. Learn why so many men are struggling to find their way in an increasingly gynocentric world in The Man Crisis. Get your copy of The Man Crisis in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today. A Baltimore CEO of a tech company wound up losing her life when she was confronted by a convicted sex offender.
Live from WJZ, this is breaking news.
Breaking news this morning, the search for this man, Jason Billingsley, is now over.
The suspect in the murder of a young Baltimore tech CEO was taken into custody overnight.
The story has made national headlines, and we're breaking it all down for you this morning with live team coverage from Amy Kawada and Alexis Davila.
And the police department is preparing to provide more information on this arrest later this morning. But we want to first get a check with Amy, who is breaking down what we know so far. Amy, good morning.
Tim, Sina, good morning. Well, after 2 days on the run, sparking a statewide manhunt and leaving the community on edge, Jason Billingsley has been arrested. Our media partner, the Baltimore Banner, says that U.S. Marshals took him into custody last night just after 11 at his train station in Bowie. Billingsley, who was considered highly dangerous while on the run, had been wanted on a first-degree murder arrest for the killing of 26-year-old Pava, Pere, CEO and founder of EcoMap Technologies. Her body was found Monday morning at her apartment building in Mount Vernon and had signs of blunt force trauma. She had been reported missing. It's also worth noting, officials say the apartment building was secured, but police have not yet released any information on how Billingsley got inside. The arrest brings to a close an unsettling few days as new and disturbing details continue to emerge about Billingsley. Investigators are now connecting the 32-year-old to an attempted murder, arson, and rape case last week in West Baltimore that left 2 people fighting for their lives. Baltimore police say Billingsley was a violent repeat offender with a lengthy record that includes first and second-degree assault and attempted rape. He was also a registered sex offender. While Billingsley was still on the run, his mother, Scarlett, was among those urging him to turn himself in.
I can't understand what happened that he would do something like that.
And again, later this morning at 11, we're expecting to hear from the acting police commissioner, the mayor, and city state's attorney as they announce the arrest of Jason Billingsley. And coming up in about a half hour from now at 5:30, we're hearing more from Jason Billingsley's mother and her apology to LaPere's family. For now, reporting live this morning, I'm Amy Kawada for WJZ.
Amy, thank you. And our team coverage continues this morning with Alexis Davila.
Alexis, Billingsley was arrested just hours after LaPere's friends and family gathered right where you're standing.
Absolutely. LaPere's father was here last night at the vigil and shared some touching words about his daughter and even the tragic way that her life was taken. And others who are close to LaPere also expressed how she had this desire and dedication to change Baltimore, and they say she did just that. Now, here in Washington Monument in Mount Vernon, this was in a packed area with company, friends, and family of Pava Pere. They shared stories expressing their love for her and the impact she strived to make in this community. Her family says she made Baltimore her home after graduating from Johns Hopkins University. As she helped students create startups, she helped create EcoMap Technologies. The company organized the vigil to encourage people to remember her as a champion for the city.
So I want to thank you all for being here and for loving our daughter and taking care of her.
Pava woke up every day with the belief that she and we together had the power to ignite change. Together we can show the world that she was right.
Coming up at 5:30, we will hear the touching words from the co-founder of the tech company she helped create. Reporting live, I'm Alexis Davila for WJZ.
Thank you, Alexis. Again, if you're just joining us, Jason Billingsley, the man that police believe killed tech CEO Pava Pere, has been arrested.
City police are set to have a news conference about this at 11 o'clock this morning, and we will stream it to you live on CBS News Baltimore. And as we continue to follow this story on air throughout the morning, we also have updates online at WJZ.com.
Now, in this alleged incident that took place in Baltimore, 26-year-old Pava Pere, the CEO of a small startup called EcoMap Technologies, was walking on her way home back to her apartment. And as she was walking back to her apartment, she did not know that she was being followed by convicted sex offender Jason Dean Billingsley, who was looking for another victim to attack after winding up allegedly sexually violating another woman and beating up her boyfriend and allegedly setting them on fire. Now, Jason Dean Billingsley was allegedly wanted for that sex crime, but was still out here looking for another victim. And as he was looking for that other victim, he began allegedly following Pava Pere back to her apartment. And Pava Pere, who wasn't really aware of her surroundings, basically wound up opening up the security door to her apartment building, and as she let it close behind her, she wound up running into Jason Dean Billingsley, who pretended to say that he lived there, gesturing, saying that he did not have his keys. And Pava Pere went out here and opened the door for Jason Dean Billingsley, and after she opened the door for Jason Dean Billingsley, they wound up having a conversation, then got on the elevator together. And after this happened, this is where allegedly Jason Dean Billingsley took the 26-year-old CEO of EcoMap Technologies up to the roof, brutally beat her, sexually violated her, and left her body on that roof as he scrambled down the stairs of that building for an exit. And as he was scrambling down the stairs, this is where video surveillance shows him in the lobby, wiping his hands on the shorts and looking to scramble to get out of that building. And this whole incident was recorded as evidence of Jason Dean Billingsley's alleged sex crime. Now, the police are seeing the alleged murder of Pava Pere as an isolated incident, but when I take a critical examination of the alleged behavior of Jason Dean Billingsley, it fits the pattern and profile for beta males that I talk about in my book, The Man Crisis. And in the chapters of The Man Crisis, where I talk about the sexual frustration and the sexual deviancy of the beta male, I outline why beta males who participate in sex crimes are some of the most dangerous individuals in a society. Now, Jason Dean Billingsley was already convicted of one sex crime, but the people in the state of Maryland wanted to go out here and give him a second chance 7 years into his sentence. And as they gave him the second chance under their so-called supervision, they really didn't make a critical assessment to see if he was rehabilitated, because what these individuals in that system basically did was possibly look to just get him out of the prison system in an effort to try to virtue signal. And as they looked to virtue signal, they didn't really see the dangerous predator they were putting back into society. Because when it comes to individuals who are sex offenders, these are some of the most dangerous individuals, and they are dangerous because many of these individuals, they live in what I call, in The Man Crisis, a rose-colored reality. And as they live in that rose-colored reality, they are detached from the real world. Moreover, they don't see people as people. No, these individuals basically see people as objects in their own twisted fantasy world. And in that world, what they want to do is, as they're objectifying people, look to gain power over them by using their penises as weapons. That's basically what this man, Jason Dean Billingsley, wanted to do in the case of the person who he sexually violated the first time. in order to go to jail, that led him to him going to prison, and it's what he did once he came out of prison and attacked yet another individual. And because he was so hopped up on trying to get more power, because this is what many of these beta males try to do, oftentimes they get a rush from going out here and participating in this sexual violence. That what they want to do is go out here and get a greater high from that violence. And this is where this individual went from looking to go out here and participate in this sex crime, where he was looking to break down and humiliate a woman, to going out here and participating in a sex crime once he got released, where he looked to participate in this sex crime, where he not only looked to break down this woman and humiliate her in front of her boyfriend, but also wanted to go out here and break down this woman and man by looking to take their lives. When it comes to these types of beta males, they escalate their behavior to go out here and participate in more and more extreme violence, because they get pleasure from seeing people being harmed, and they get pleasure from seeing people harmed because it gives them that rush of power they don't feel like they have in their lives as a man. And after participating in that sex crime, where he wanted to, again, attempt to murder those two individuals by setting them allegedly on fire, this is where Jason Dean Billingsley further looked to escalate his behavior by looking for another victim. And sadly, this is where tech CEO of Ecotech, Pava Pere, basically sadly became the next target of Jason Dean Billingsley. Now, Pava Pere was one of those leftists who thought that she could go out here and give a person a chance, and wasn't really thinking critically about her surroundings on a Friday night, or thinking critically about her own safety. Sadly, Pava Pere actually bought into the story of Jason Dean Billingsley living in her building, thinking that if she didn't let him in, she would be considered to be a racist. But there's nothing racist about not letting an individual into your building if you do not know that individual, because the whole thing is that security doors are there to secure a person's safety, and if you don't think critically about your safety, you will go out here and put yourself in danger. And sadly, that's what Pava Pere wound up doing in this situation. She put herself in a dangerous situation because she went out here getting caught up in her politics and didn't understand that the man standing on the other side of that door was a beta male sexual predator, a beta male sexual predator who was a clear and present danger, a beta male sexual predator who only wanted to go out here and find another victim to gain power over. And sadly, she allowed this by not taking her power, by walking away from an individual who she didn't know. Sadly, Pava Pere wound up becoming the next victim of this sexual predator, who again got on the elevator with her, brutally beat her, and sexually violated her before, then killed her, and then scrambled out of that building because he had gotten a rush again as related to power. Because again, with these kinds of beta males, it is not about sexual pleasure or even sexual desire. No, it's always about getting power over people and getting a feeling of gratification, of pleasure from taking the life away from another person. In some ways, these beta males who participate in these sex crimes have a God complex, and they want to be able, and they want to say that they are the God over people and have the ability to say who gets to live and who gets to die. And again, that comes from these males basically feeling powerless about themselves as a man, and that is due to the dysfunctional way that these males are raised, usually in single mother households. And because these males are raised in dysfunctional homes, they look to get power over people that they feel that they cannot have in their lives, because oftentimes these males are never taught about the agency or power that they have in single mother households, because they see the females having all of the power, and because they see females having all of the power, they feel the only way they can get power is through violence, especially sexual violence, because sexual violence allows them to feel like they can go out here and control someone through humiliation. So that's the motivation for these kinds of beta males in participating in the kind of violence that they participate in. And that's what has me scratching my head about the state of Maryland and why they gave this man a release 7 years into a 30-year sentence, because this was a man who I would have, if I were running a criminal justice system, would never consider for any type of release, because this man is definitely one of the more dangerous sexual predators. And again, I would have never given this type of man any sort of release due to the dysfunctional way that these males have as related to their frame of thinking. From my years of research studying these types of beta males, I know that the recidivism rate among them is very high, and that recidivism rate among them is very high because when it comes to sex, these men don't see people as people they want to connect and bond with in a relationship at all. No, they see sex as a way to get power, and they see their penises as weapons, and they see them as weapons because they are detached from people, and because they are detached and disconnected from people, they don't see sex as something that brings people together. No, they see sex as a way to go out here and break a person down and humiliate them. And that's something that would make it where I would never want to consider somebody like this for parole, because this person does not live in reality. No, this person lives in a rose-colored world where they see people as objects, and they see people as objects to inflict pain upon with their bodies. And this is why I would never want to consider an individual like this for any sort of release, because chances are high that this individual will go out here and repeat their crimes, and they will repeat their crimes because they have a perception of reality that makes it where they don't, again, have a connection to real people in the real world. And again, I go in depth on this in 2 chapters in The Man Crisis, where I talk about the sexual frustration of the beta male, because they are frustrated because they feel like they have no agency and they feel like they have no power compared to female authority figures. And this leads to their twisted perception of sex, which leads to them participating in sexual deviancy. And oftentimes that sexual deviancy escalates into sex crimes. And as it escalates into sex crimes, what these individuals do is go out here and participate in criminal behavior that will get worse if law enforcement doesn't go out here and secure these individuals inside of a penitentiary for an extended period of time, such as the 30-year sentence this man received, or the life in prison he is going to receive, possibly if he is convicted for the murder of Pava, Pere. I mean, this entire crime is one that is extremely disturbing, and it is one that is disturbing that because it basically proves a point, again, about these sexual deviants, but on a racial component. It basically brings back the narrative of the black brute, and that is the element that I find to be the one that's really troubling. This guy basically proves the entire racist narrative of the black brute with his sexual deviancy and his just sick and twisted behavior. And many racists on the right want to use him as a poster boy, like they did Willie Horton for Michael Dukakis, as the face of sexual predation. But what this whole situation happened was basically due to the policies of those who were on the left, who were ignorant as related to not understanding how dangerous a sexual predator and a person who participates in a sex crime truly is. The reason why this man in crisis caused havoc was mainly because there were far leftists who wanted to believe in giving a criminal a second chance, not understanding that certain criminals have to remain in prison, and their rehabilitation is not something that can be done under quote-unquote supervision, these individuals need to be presented with mental health specialists who can give them counseling, and they need that counseling inside of that penitentiary for an extended period of time, because these individuals are participating, again, they have a twisted perception of reality, they are complete deviants, and again, their whole perception of sex is extremely twisted, and these are not individuals you can just arbitrarily just release like a shoplifter. No, this is a person who has committed a serious crime and was convicted of a serious crime and showed that he had basically not been rehabilitated. So those on the left in Baltimore, the chocolate city, and the state of Maryland, a blue state, basically failed Pava, Pere, and they failed Pava, Pere because they don't understand the gravity of the man crisis, a man crisis that has been plaguing our country for over 60 years. And over the last 60 years, as we have been raising boys to become men, many of these males who we thought were going to be kinder, gentler, and softer have grown up to become toxic males, and it's these toxic males who are a clear and present danger nobody is acknowledging, because people want to believe the way we raise boys to become men worked, but the way we raise boys to become these new age, kinder, softer, gentler males has led to an explosion of 2 to 3 generations and over 200 to 300 million men who are in crisis. And what's really scary is that we've gone from ticking time bombs to landmines all across this country after the COVID-19 lockdowns. And what's scary is that you don't know when you're going to step on one of these landmines or run into one of these landmines. And sadly, that's what happened to Pava, Pere. Allegedly, this CEO, who was a big-time executive, really didn't understand that she could not take her life for granted, and she wound up walking into one of these beta male landmines, and sadly this beta male landmine wound up taking her life in one of the most disturbing ways a person could leave this world. And again, this is all happening because America just refuses to acknowledge the man crisis in this country and refuses to acknowledge the way we have been raising boys to become men are not raising functional and healthy men. No, it's raising men who are ticking time bombs and landmines. And what's really scary is people don't see that we're seeing an increase in frequency of the kind of violence these beta males participate in, and that frequency of violence is actually getting worse in this country, because almost every day we're hearing about 2 to 3 incidents from these individuals. Unfortunately, many of the men in our society refuse to call out the women in this society and let them know the ways they're raising boys to become men is not raising men who are functional. No, the way we are raising boys to become men are raising men in crisis, and the type of violence they're participating in is getting exponentially more violent and more deviant, because this type of deviancy is on the road where we're looking. When I look at the behavior that this Billingsley participated in, he was basically on the road to becoming a serial killer. This is what happens as related to the pattern of these kinds of guys. What happens is their pattern of behavior, it winds up going from, again, just going out here and attacking, from watching porn sometimes, because they don't know that porn is fake. They go out here watching porn, to frequenting prostitutes, then looking to go out here and get into participating in things like BDSM, to other forms of sexual deviancy, to looking to go out here and violate a woman, then looking to go out here and take the life of a woman. And that's the road that Jason Dean Billingsley was put back on by far leftists. They didn't understand that these sex offenders, they escalate their behavior, and they escalate their behavior to the point where they want to take a life, because it's all about them looking to take power and use their body as a weapon. They don't understand that these men basically are on the road to becoming serial killers, and this is why you just don't release these types of men arbitrarily, because these are men in crisis, and when you have a man in crisis in society, he is going to inflict as much harm as possible. And that's why we have to make an investment in men, because every investment we make in men prevents a man in crisis from winding up on the streets participating in this kind of violence. Now, if you want to learn more about what leads to beta males participating in the types of violence they participate in and what leads to them having this whole frame of mindset to participate in this type of violence, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find The Man Crisis at other online booksellers like Smashwords, the iBookstore, Google Play, and Barnes & Noble. And if you'd like to see me do more videos going in depth on the man crisis and its impact on men in society and why so many men are out of control, you can send a donation to the PayPal, the Patreon, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, The Man Crisis. Learn why so many men are struggling to find their way in an increasingly gynocentric world in The Man Crisis. Get your copy of The Man Crisis in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.